Hello, my name is Tinelle Creations, and I'm a therapist. And this is Creations Review of The Slap. It's a therapist view of the NBC show, The Slap. Some of the actors on the show: Peter Sarsgaard plays Hector, Uma Thurman plays Anouk, Zachary Quinto plays Harry, Melissa George plays Rosie, Thandel Newton plays Aisha, and Thomas Sadowski plays Gary. And it looks like this is a show that they're kind of highlighting some of these actors. It was written by John Robin Bates. I've decided to do this podcast because there's something about the show that really draws me to it. And I was hoping that I could kind of share my thoughts with other people. Whenever I'm at work, I like to listen to podcasts, and I hope that this is something that other people will enjoy too. So the first episode is called Hector, who's played by Peter Sarsgaard. And the way that I'll do this is I'm going to kind of go through the show scene by scene and then give my opinions and then kind of speak about the whole episode overall. So the first scene, you see Hector, and it's clear that he's going to be turning 40, and he seems to be really reflective on his life. He's in some kind of thought, like he's thinking about something, and then he's thrown out of his thoughts by a coworker who claims that they need help with something, and it turns out to be a surprise party from his coworkers. He makes a speech about the city being shiny, and he finishes with a joke, and it was interesting that all of his coworkers are really diverse, and they all seem to be just looking at him kind of in a way like they appreciate him or they like him. And so he clearly has a leadership role, and you can tell that from the very beginning. And then he gets a call from the commissioner. His coworkers are already talking about him being the deputy commissioner. And so it's clear that this is the call that he's been waiting for. And as he speaks, you can tell that he didn't get the job. Some other person got the job. So moving on, so far your first impression of him is he's just kind of depressed about his life and he's unfulfilled. And you see him at home, and you meet his wife and his children, a boy and a girl, and it looks like both partners work, and then the wife comes home and she cooks, and she's like stirring some food in a bowl like the entire time that they're talking, and it looks like she mostly cares for the children. She asks about his possible promotion, and he lies about it, saying that they haven't really made a decision, and it seems like it's something that comes easy to him. And then he goes into a room by himself and listens to jazz music and does some daydreaming. And there's this young girl, which looks too young for him. And she comes in and she kisses him. And the next scene, it is morning, and he looks to his wife and he asks her to stay in bed. He goes to the bathroom, and when he returns, she's left the bed. So it kind of speaks a little bit to their relationship. His children begin arguing, and he just kind of relies on the older brother to share. He doesn't seem to be really forward thinking with his problem solving, or helping his kids to learn about problem solving. He's just like laid back. He goes to see his wife, and she says she wants a rain check. And he immediately looks for cigarettes and I guess some hiding place in the cabinet. And his wife tells him that she put them in the trash. And he can get them if he wants to. So I'm guessing that she's trying to get him to quit smoking, and he's probably not completely on board with that. He later does pick up the box of cigarettes from the trash can. So they talk about the birthday party. There's going to be an upcoming birthday party with the family, and he tries to get her to cancel it. And she basically refuses because she's been setting up for this party this whole time. He asks for a Valium, and his wife tells him that she has some at the clinic. So immediately you're seeing that there are already some crutches that he's leaning on. And then the next scene is a flashback. And it flashes back to him, and who we learn is Connie. And they're listening to this slow jazz music in the car. And we kind of see his passion for this jazz music. We learn that Connie is the babysitter, and he's taking her home. They say goodnight, and Connie kind of hesitates in the seat. And then she leans in and she kisses him. And then the kiss breaks, and they kind of, it seems kind of like awkward for a moment, as she just kind of sits there, and then she gets out of the car. And there's kind of like this blurred image of her heading back into the house. Which is, interesting. And the next scene, he's in front of the clinic. And the narrator talks about what would happen if Hector was to go through with being with Connie. And they mentioned some words that I wrote down because it really, I just think they're very interesting. So the narrator says, public humiliation, divorce, loneliness, despair, suicide. And I kind of feel like those words just kind of give the theme of the entire episode. Because he seems kind of like lonely and despairing like the whole time. He goes into his wife's office and he takes the Valium. And Connie is seen at the clinic, and she gives him back a book that she borrowed from him. It was hard for me to see the title, but it's called The Death and Life of a Great American. And I think that has a really big theme too, because this episode is all about his life, and he's turning 40, and I think he's kind of wondering, like, what am I doing with my life, and am I at where I want to? And I think it's also symbolic of the main character thinking about life and eventual death. He invites her to his birthday party, and she accepts, and she kind of gives him this look, like this silent signal that she wants to be with him. In the next scene, you're home with his wife, who has cooked a lot of food, and there's already some family members there, but it's not completely clear what their role is with him. Hector's mother comes in and she's bringing in dessert, and the wife thanks her for the boxes, and then a whole bunch of more food comes in. And I mean, these are like Tupperware after Tupperware of like all of these dishes. And the excessive food seems to kind of be an insult to Hector's wife. But it doesn't seem like Hector, I think he notices it, but he doesn't really do anything about it. And you meet Anouk, who is Aisha's best friend. And he greets her, and she opens up the box of his birthday gift, and it's marijuana, and he seems very pleased by this. And you also meet Harry, who is Hector's cousin, played by Zachary Quinto, who I must admit looks really handsome. I've seen him in a number of other roles, and I adore him. He was fantastic on Heroes. I loved him. And then you see the mother, and she begins moving the wife's food out of the way, and making more room for her food. She seems very proud of her son. He seems to be kind of like the best child, like the shining child, telling them things that they already know. In the next scene, there's a conversation with Hector and his wife, and the wife is like asking him, like, why didn't you speak to your mother about not bringing the food? And Hector doesn't really have a response for her, like it's just like, kind of dismisses the whole thing. And then we go to a scene where little Hugo is destroying his records, breaking into them, and Hector comes into the room, and he's just like, what are you doing? And he takes it out of the boy's hands, and then Rosie comes in, Hugo's mom, and she's just like, oh, he didn't mean anything by it, and she kind of coddles him and offers him to feed from her breast, and the boy feeds from her breast. It's really a bit unusual because this boy is probably, I mean, at least 6 or 7 years old. So it seems, I mean, according to American culture, most people don't continue to breastfeed at that age. And it's clear that Hector is kind of taken back by watching this woman do this, but he doesn't say anything. And then Connie comes in with her friend Richie, and she brings a gift. And it's this box. I'm not sure if it's a puzzle or what, but it is something to do with cities, which she understands is something that he likes a lot. And on the card, it says, don't play what's there. Play what's not there. And it seems like this silent flirtation, where she just wants to keep connecting with him and acting as if, nothing is wrong. In the next scene, I think he's putting together some food, and she asks for a beer. Connie asks for a beer from Hector, and he reminds her that she's underage. So at this point, we learn she's 18. So that's the big age difference. He's 40 and she's 18. But he gives her the beer anyway. And Richie starts taking pictures. And and they go back to a scene of Anouk talking about the guy that she likes. And then they shoot back to where Hector is opening up a box, and it's a birthday gift from his mother, tickets to Greece. And it seems like everyone's excited about this, but the wife is not excited. They have a particular date on it, and it seems like she has this goal in mind for her clinic, for starting up this clinic and making it popular, and she can't leave from work. She can't just have anybody cover for her. The family is not so happy about, or rather the father is not so happy about Aisha's response, and, not her unenthusiasm regarding the tickets to Greece. And he speaks in Greece and tells his son to manage his wife. And I think this really kind of shows a little bit of what his parents' ideals are. But I don't think that they really fit Hector, because Hector doesn't, and Hector even said, like, he doesn't manage his wife. That's not how he sees his role with his wife. So I think that's probably one positive characteristic that I've learned from this guy throughout this whole episode. And then there's a conversation with the wife and Hector, and she's upset because he won't stand up to her parents, and she doesn't think he supports her, and she tells him to go to Greece without her. Instead of responding to her demands or talking to the situation of whether he's more loyal to his parents or to his wife, instead he talks about, like, why don't you lower your voice? And, he talks about how he doesn't like her sharpness and how he would like to enjoy the party. He just kind of dismisses the whole conflict. And I wonder if it's something that's kind of been ongoing for a while, and this is his choice on dealing with it by just dismissing it completely. The next scene, he ushers the children outside. Hugo doesn't want to go, but he picks Hugo up and brings him outside and tries to get Hugo to play with the other kids, but the little boy just runs off. And there's another scene of where the parents think that Hector should stand up to his wife. And then it goes back to Hugo destroying the flowers in the garden, tearing them out. And then you can see the whole family at the table, and Harry, Hector's cousin, Zachary Quinto, oh, so handsome, gives a toast while Hugo's mom soothes her son, tries to redirect him by breastfeeding her son again. It seems like every time he's out of line, she gives him breast milk. Is, unusual. And this time the parents see that the boy is being breastfed, and there's like this look of disappointment. Harry gives this toast about how good Hector is, about how Hector is not about, so much not about huge gains like money, but he's about being good. And that Hector wants to be a good person, and he calls Hector the last good man in America. And I think that maybe this is kind of telling us to what the writers want us to see in this character, that he's a good man, but I don't know that I see that.